Hi, my name is Yolanda Mixon. I'm originally from West Palm Beach, Florida, born and raised. I have 9 siblings, 5 girls, 4 boys. After finishing high school, I finished high school in 1977. I couldn't find a job, so I decided to join the military. So I went down to the Army office, and the guy said, well, how soon do you want to leave? I said, today. So that year, December of 1981, I joined the military, the United States Army. And my first assignment was Fort Gordon, Georgia, then on to Germany. While being stationed in Alexandria, Virginia, Fort Belvoir, I came into some medical problems. I started displaying some symptoms of arthritis. So it was in my fingers, it was in my knees, and I can hardly walk, but I was still active doing it and I was working. So I went to the doctor and he said, well, I'm gonna run a blood test on you and find out what's going on. Once he ran the blood test, he came back and said, your blood work displays double-stranded DNA. I said, well, what's that? He said, have you ever heard of lupus? And I said, no. He said, well, you're diagnosed with lupus. So within, I'd say, about a month, the lupus started attacking my kidneys. I'm a veteran, I go over to Miami VA, which is right up the street from you. So when I went there, they didn't have a kidney transplant program. But they had a program in Pittsburgh. So they said, what we're going to do for you, Ms. Mixon, we're going to send you TDY, which is a temporary trip to Pittsburgh, let them do a workup on you and see whether you qualify. At the same time, I was on dialysis and I was having problems with my lungs. I had the pulmonary fibrosis. So I went out there for a couple of days. We did the workup and everything. Took them maybe, I say about 3 weeks to get back with me. So instead of them sending me a letter in the mail, I had to call and ask. I said, well, any results from the workup? Did I qualify for your program? They told me, no, you didn't qualify. Didn't send me no information as to why. So I said, not a problem. So my primary care doctor, he said, well, Yolanda, what you can do is go over to Jackson and do the workup there. Maybe you'll be able to, meet someone over there and you can get a transplant. They do the workup and they can tell you whether you really can have one or not, because they are one of the #1 leading hospitals in transplant. I said, not a problem. And that's how I got to know Jackson and to come over this way to Jackson to get a workup done on the transplant. We decided to go see Dr. Guerra, and Dr. Guerra did the workup on both of us. It took a couple of months because I had some DSA levels that was real high. So I had to go through a lot of procedures. I had to go through the IVIG, I had to go through plasma pheresis over at Jackson just to qualify. And at the same time, I had pulmonary fibrosis. So when my records first went across the board, they said no, because they didn't think that I would make it through the operation because of my lung issues. So once the workup was complete, my daughter was a match. I did the plasma pheresis for a couple of times, and they said, well, we're going to set a date. So we said, okay, let's do this. So May 12th was the day, and we had it done. I was in the hospital for about 5 days, and then they sent me home. And the first year was kind of hit and miss, because you have to drink plenty of water, you got fluid everywhere, you're in pain, and you just got to wait for it to start working and acting and doing blood work and start your medications. So it was a trial for the first year. It was a trial. But the second year, no IVIG was done, and all I did was go see Dr. Guerra over at Jackson once a month so she can monitor my case and ask me how is it going and do further tests. And during that time frame, I did have 2 kidney biopsies just to make sure, because of my levels of the DSA levels. She did the kidney biopsy and then she found out I was fine, and I've been stable ever since. And once I came over to Jackson, I felt right at home. And the doctors that I met, they said, well, you got an issue, same thing, the pulmonary fibrosis, and we don't think that you'll make it through the operation. And that's when they gave me a year. They said, we're going to give you a year. You go out and work hard. I was still on dialysis, I was still employed. I worked hard and I came back. They put my papers back across the board again and they said yes. I said, really? And that's how I became to know the doctors at Jackson and how much they are able to. Even though someone might tell you no, it's always good to get a second opinion. And my second opinion and my right opinion so far has been Jackson Memorial Hospital. It's important, me being a veteran, I know that we have a lot of veterans out there that's sick and that's in need, regardless of whether they need an organ, but they need help and they need someone to care. Me, I'm a godly person, and I think caring and giving is one of the traits that each one of us have in us. Sometimes we are a little bit afraid, and sometimes we just can't do it. But just following in the steps of being true to yourself, if you're able to give, I think that everyone should.